Today, I'm going to cover a topic I most often receive questions about, and I'm going to give you a couple simple tricks to improve your returns while protecting what you've already earned. Hi, I'm Matthew Carr, Chief Trend Strategist for the Oxford Club, and welcome to this week's episode of Market Trends. New investors tend to have a gambler's mentality to the markets. And by that, I mean it's an all or nothing approach. Every stock they buy is either going to be a lottery ticket that mints a fortune or it's going to go to zero. Well, that's the quickest and easiest way to go broke. So for years, I've recommended one of the ways investors can protect themselves is to use something called trailing stops. Essentially, you don't want to let a manageable or acceptable loss become something destructive or ultimately threaten your financial independence. You want to minimize your risk while maximizing your gains. And trailing stops let you do that exactly, while at the same time removing emotion completely from the equation. So, what is this magical thing? A trailing stop is a sell order that's automatically triggered when the price of shares fall below a designated level. And this level is set by a percentage, either 15%, 25%, 35%, 42% if you're a Douglas Adams fan, whatever you want. But unlike a hard stop, a trailing stop moves up as the price of shares moves higher. It trails along behind it, maybe like a dog on a leash. So let's talk about a real live example and go through this process. For instance, let's say you bought shares of Digital Turbine at $10. This is a company I like, and you want to use a 25% trailing stop. Well, how do you set that up? It's really, really easy. You're going to take $10, your entry price, times 0.75. This is determined by 1.0 minus whatever trailing stop percentage you want, in this case, 25. So 1.0 minus 0.25 gives us 0.75. So $10 times 0.75 equals $7.50. I know that sounds like a lot of math. It seems super complicated, but it's really pretty simple. Now, let's say Digital Turbine, we bought it at $10. It was a complete dud. It did nothing but fall since we bought it. Well, we would sell automatically when shares closed below that 750 level. That means we cap our loss at 25%, and then we sell it, we move on to greener and better pastures. But in 99.999% of cases, that's not going to happen. A stock is going to move higher, and as it hits new highs for you, not new 52-week highs or new all-time highs, though those can be the same, that trailing stop is going to move up. So for instance, let's say shares of Digital Turbine close at $10.53. Well, now your trailing stop moves up. That's a new high for you. You take $10.53 times 0.75, and you get $7.90. So now, if shares close below that $7.90 level, you'd sell, and your loss is now capped at 21%. So forth and so on. But remember, you're only readjusting your trailing stop when shares are hitting a new high for you. A lot of people that are new to trailing stops, they'll do this adjustment every single day, and you're just making way too much work for yourself. You only need to do this every time it hits a new high for you, so it's not going to be every day unless you're lucky and it just goes straight up to the moon. Now for the difficult question. This is the one that I'm asked most often. What is the best trailing stop percentage to use? Well, here it's a whole bunch of asterisks. You know, from my years of experience and research, I found that the percentage of trailing stop that you're going to use is going to be based not only by the market cap of the company that you're investing or trading in, but also the volatility of that single position. So there's no real uniform answer. It's going to vary. So to illustrate what I mean, I'm going to show you some 10-year simulations I ran. And these are for different size stocks and then for different trailing stop percentage levels. So for large caps, these are the biggest companies in the market, we see that 35% and 25% trailing stops were the best performers. This portfolio of this gains 200% or more for both of those trailing stop levels over the past decade. So that was extremely good. your 10% trailing stop level was your worst performer, even though it did more than double. And for mid caps, we see that a 20% trailing stop resulted in the best performance over the past 10 years. But I do want to point out that that 10% trailing stop level was the worst performer by a very significant margin. And now let's look at small caps. Here we see that a 35% and 30% trailing stop resulted in excellent returns. In fact, these are using a 30 and 35% trailing stop on small caps over the past 10 years, outperformed the Russell 2000 by a pretty significant margin. But I also want to make a note that 10% trailing stop was by far the worst performer. So what's our big takeaway here? Well, first and foremost, that your trailing stop will vary a little bit from the size of the company that you're investing or trading in. That's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind and kind of look at. But most importantly, the big, bold, bright light takeaway that's also kind of counterintuitive is that a tighter stop doesn't produce better returns. It actually produces worse returns, especially anything 15% or smaller. That's because stocks will have a tendency to move 10% or even 5% in a single day. And if your stop is too tight, you're not protecting your profits. You're actually ensuring that you're going to underperform over the long term. I'm Matthew Carr, Chief Trend Strategist for the Oxford Club. Thank you for watching this episode of Market Trends. For more information like this, be sure to go down to the description and sign up for my free e-letter. Until next time, here's the high returns.